What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Jayana and welcome to my channel. So today we will be doing a tutorial on part 2 of the beginner's guide to makeup. The first part was the eyebrow tutorial, and the second part, which is today, we will be doing eyeshadow. So I'll be showing you the basics of how to apply your eyeshadow. Very beginner friendly, nothing too complex. Try to make it easy for y'all to understand. Part 1 of this video has now reached 1,000 views. Thank y'all so much. So I'm hoping that part 2 gets the same reaction. Also, shout out to my new subscribers. Hi, nice to meet y'all. I'm glad that y'all came to join me today, and I just hope y'all enjoy this tutorial. So before we start with the tutorial, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you are notified. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the bell so that you're notified of my next upload. I thank y'all so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you in my next tutorial. So before I apply the eyeshadow, I want to go over the basics first. So let's start off with the parts of your eye. Learning the parts of your eye when it comes to applying your eyeshadow is important, because that's when you'll know which shadows go into which shadows go on which part of the eye. So the first part of the eye is the eyelid. So that's pretty self-explanatory. That's just the area right here. The next part of the eye that you'll see a lot of people talk about is the crease area. So when I'm talking about the crease, I'm talking about the part where your eyelid, if I look up, this area right here, that's where the eyelid folds into the eye. It is referred to a lot whenever people are applying eyeshadows. This area right here helps with shaping the eye, contouring your eye, if you ever heard of that, and it just really gives a more in-depth look to your eyeshadow. The next port is the brow bone and also the inner corner of your eye. So your brow bone is located right under the arch of your brow, inner corner, which is the tear duct right here. I like to use this area also to add maybe a shimmer shade or to highlight the area, just to give your eye more of a dramatic look, dramatic feel. I'm gonna go and complete my face off camera, and then we'll come back with the eyeshadow and really go in depth with the shades. So I'll be right back. Alrighty, so I have went ahead and completed my whole face, 30 minutes max. That's the top time I've ever had. But now we're gonna move on to the shadows. So to complete this eyeshadow look, you will only need 3 shadows. That's it, no more. You are a beginner. Well, if you are a beginner, or you just not starting putting eyeshadow on, I stick to 3 shades, trust me. So with these 3 shades, that will be your transition shade, your contour shade, or more of a darker tone shade, and then your shimmer shade. So with your transition shade, basically it's what it says. It transitions. It's gonna create a transition between all of your colors. You're gonna treat this shade basically as your base shade. This is the beginning. This is what is gonna make it or break it for you. With picking out your transition shade, you want to use tones that are neutral or a nude palette or something that's closer to your skin tone as a beginner. Now, unless you're gonna move in with some colors, you just base it off of the color range. Like, let's say you're gonna do a look with purple, blue, and green. I would start off with the purple as my transition shade and then build in the blue and then probably put the green in my lid. It may look crazy in your head now, but those colors do go well together. Another thing about your transition shade, you just wanna ensure that this shade is helping you blend in the rest of your colors properly. As a beginner that is doing with eyeshadow, I would most likely stick to palettes that are more neutral tone. When I first started, I didn't want to start with color because I was scared, because I really didn't know how to blend. So I started more with the neutral tone. Just stick with what I knew for now, and then I built myself up. Either way, things take practice, so you'll get there. The next shade is the darker or the contour shade. All these shades, I would stick to shades that are matte tone. So with your darker shade, you want this to be darker than your transition shade. You're basically gonna help, this is gonna help with shaping your eye and also adding some more depth to your eye with your darker shade. And I'm gonna show you how to put those shades on your eye. The next shade, which is your last shade, it is a shimmer shade. So depending on the color tone, the skin tone of your skin, and just what palette you have, there's a bunch of shimmer shades. If you pick out a neutral tone palette, you'll notice it has a bunch of silver shimmer shades, golds, copper tone, and that's because those shades just look good on a lot of skin tones and they're easier to work with. So you'll notice those in a bunch of palettes. This shimmer shade also helps introduce color for the first time. If this is your first time putting up shadow, it helps introduce color into your eyes. Those are your 3 basic shades. That's it. That's pretty much it. They're easy. You know, we're sticking to something easy. Not gonna go too advanced yet, but I think this is easy enough to give you a really classy, elegant look. So now, let's apply these shadows. Alrighty, so this is the palette that I will be using today. Let me open it up for y'all. Alright, my ring light. But this is the palette. Not too harsh, not too crazy. I believe it is easy to work with. This palette is the Siennas palette from Profusion Cosmetics. I got it from Walmart for $12. No, $10. I got it for $10. On the website, it's $12. It did come with a brush, but I lost that brush, unfortunately. But this palette it's not too crazy. It comes with a lot of pretty tones. And if you notice, I think I picked this palette out specifically because it matched my skin tone. Look for palettes that are gonna match your skin tone. So let's see, the shades that I'm gonna use today. So this shade right here is Fearless. I'll be using that as my transition shade. Now as my contour shade, or the shade that's gonna deepen up my eyes, I'm gonna use this shade called Cozy. And then for my shimmer shade, because I got a little pinkness or orangeness going on, I'm gonna go in with Certain as my shimmer shade. Those colors are not too harsh and they match very well together, so not too harsh, okay? You can, if you want to do this look, you can purchase the same palette or get a palette that's similar to it. First, what we're gonna do is prime your eyes. Priming is very important because you want your shadow to stick. You want it to stay on your eyes. You want it to last all day. You don't want it to move. With priming your eyes, you can either use an eye primer or concealer. As a beginner, I would recommend maybe using a concealer first, or you can go ahead and jump into a primer. I remember back, like, let's see, I'm 23. I think I started doing makeup like 7 years ago. Yeah, so almost 7 years ago. There were not many primers that fit my skin tone. Yeah, they were either like white primers. I didn't see the point of using a white primer because I wasn't going to use color, you know. But even now, if you look at now, there's so many primers that fit our skin tone, so it is easier to pick those out. So what I'm going to use today is concealer because that's what I used when I first started doing makeup, and I still use it now. I really just prefer concealer over eye primer. I love the consistency of the concealer I use on my eyes, and I love the fact that it doesn't move and my eyeshadow does last all day. So with the concealer that I'm using today, this is the LA Girl Pro Concealer in the shade Warm Honey. I ran out, so I had to cut it in half. I had to get the scissors. So what I'm gonna do, I would have squeezed it on my eye, but I ain't have nothing in there to squeeze. So I'm just gonna, I cut it in half and just use a little concealer brush like this one. And we got something on it. And I'm gonna rub that into my eye. I'm just gonna put that on my eyelid. My brow bone, the arch, already has concealer on it, so I'm just gonna put the concealer on the eyelid. I'm gonna put a decent amount up there, but not too much. Covering the entire eyelid. Either use a sponge or a brush. I'm gonna be using a fluffy brush. This brush here came from e.l.f. It is their fluffy eyeshadow brush. It is on their website, and I also have linked the website down below along with the other products that I've used with their links to the websites down in the description box. So I'm gonna use this brush to blend out my eyeshadow. You can use a sponge as well. With the sponge, you're just gonna tap it into your eyelid. And I'm just gonna do the same thing with the fluffy brush. So I'm just tapping this into my eyelid, pressing it. Literally pressing it to my skin. And you can bring it up to your brow bone, it's okay, as long as it's covering your entire eye. Your eyelid now is your blank canvas, and you want to make your canvas as smooth as you can. All right, I have blended that in as well as I can. If you're gonna use concealer, I do say try using whatever shade of concealer that you're using to arch your to conceal your eyebrows. That's the same concealer I would use as your primer. Usually when I'm doing my eyebrows, I just drag down the concealer to my eyelid already and blend that in. So after blending that in, now with concealer, it can crease very, very easily. When you blink, you'll notice that it's creasing. So to stop that creasing or to stop your concealer from moving, I go in with some setting powder. This one came from Bakerie. Is their translucent powder. I use the powder to set the concealer. So I'm just gonna dip into the powder and with the same brush I used to blend out the concealer, and I'm just gonna set that area. So if you're gonna use concealer, I do recommend setting the concealer with setting powder before applying the shadow. Now some will say that it won't pop, the shadow won't pop as much, or it won't give you more of a vibrant look. But I've never really had that problem unless the palette just wasn't a good palette. But I've never had that problem with setting my eyes with powder. Alrighty then, so now we have a smooth canvas. See how smooth it is? And it feels smooth too. My concealer is not going anywhere. I think I rubbed some off. Jesus. There we go. Okay. So now we're gonna move into the shadows. So starting off with the transition shade. I stated that I will be using this shade Fearless. Let me go back to it. Using this shade right here. The brush that I will be using is the Morphe M518 brush. This is a fluffy eyeshadow brush. It's also linked down in the description box of where you can find it. I like using fluffy brushes for all my eyeshadow, really. They're really great blending brushes. They're not too hard to blend in. And it's not too hard to use. And this fluffiness really helps with creating an even blend of the shadow. So I'm just gonna dip into the palette. Tap off the excess. All right, and we're gonna go right into the lid. So I'm just gonna tap that into the lid. Tapping it in onto my lid and also tapping it right here in the area of the crease. I like to tap the shadow in first just to put it in place. All right, so after I've tapped that in, I am gonna go in with the same brush and we're gonna blend that. We're gonna do windshield wiper motions and also we're gonna do the circular motions. So I'm holding my brush at the end I'm holding it at the end because I'm allowing my wrist to have all of the control. If I were to hold the brush up here, my hand would have all of the control, and I wouldn't get much of an effortless blend as I would with holding it at the end of the brush. So hold your brushes at the end and just let your wrist do what it does. This is the meaning of the wrist, right? It's gonna turn like that. So let your wrist have full control so you can have a great blend. So we're gonna do windshield wiper motions and we're gonna blend up to this area, but not all the way into the brow bone because I want that area to be blank, so when I do apply a highlight, another shade on it, it'll show better. So windshield wiper motions first. You're just gonna go back and forth, back and forth. And you can bring that shadow up, leave a little space on the brow bone. The windshield wiper motions will really help. Now I'm gonna move into circular motions. These will also help with blending out the edges of the eyeshadow. So I like to start right here at the edge and just go all the way around on the eye. Just like this, and you're literally doing small circular motions on the edge. Now I'm gonna add just a little bit more because I want a little bit more color. And I'm just gonna do windshield wiper motions. And notice that I'm also going into my crease as well with the brush. We're also keeping it on the lid area as well. You really can get off with just this color, honestly, and throw you on some lashes. One eyeshadow looks are just as beautiful. Move on to my contour shade. So I'm gonna use Cozy, which is in the Siennas palette. It is this dark ash gray brown. And the brush I'm using is the e.l.f. crease brush. And I'm going straight into the crease area. Remember, that is where your eyelid folds into the area. You'll see the little folds on your eyelid, such as this one. And what I'm gonna do is just tap right in to it at first. And then I'm gonna blend out to give my eye shape. See what I mean by adding depth? It just gave it a little bit more. Added a little bit more. So now I'm doing little circular motions. And I'm gonna bring that up to a windshield wiper motions. It helps too if you open your eye wide. You're really focusing on the crease area. Now the circular motions are gonna help with the effortless blend. Remember, your transition shade is gonna help properly blend in all your shades together. Using the circular motions, it's gonna help with blending all those eyeshadows in together, so it won't make it look so obvious that you have several shadows on your eye. Everything is gonna blend in right together. Alrighty. Okay, that is looking very pretty. So now we're gonna add on the last shade, which is my shimmer shade. This shade right here. With my shimmer shade, with your shimmer shade, you can use a brush, a flat brush, like a concealer brush, to place it on your eye, or you can use what God gave you, and that's fingers. So I like to use my ring finger and get all of it up. And what I do is I'm gonna put that all over my eyelid. Ooh, that's fiery. I like that. I never use that shade. And I'm just putting this all over my eyelid. And I'm even going up a little. You can feel your eye right there. You can feel where it's folding in. And I like to put some of that shimmer shade right there as well. That's pretty. Eee. I don't know if it matches my dress or whatever, but whatever. So the last step, very, 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 very last step. This step is completely optional, by the way. I love an inner corner and a brow highlight. It gives me even more depth than the crease, but it's giving me more added to my eye and adding more to the shape of my eye. And it's just creating an illusion that, you know, I'm highlighted from within. So I'm gonna use another shimmer shade. With my inner corner highlight, I either use a highlight, a shimmer shade, or I'll just go in with a matte shade. What it's doing is really opening up my eye. So I'm gonna use this shade right here. It's called Tickled. It's a little gold shade. I'm gonna use that. And this little brush, I like to use a brush when doing my inner corner and my brow bone. This is an angled brush. I like to use little small brushes to apply the inner corner highlight and the brow highlight. So you're just placing it right there in the tear duct. Right there in the inner corner, where your little eye boogers be at, that's where you're gonna put it at. The inner corner highlight right there under the brow. On the brow bone. Alrighty. That's your basic eyeshadow look. 4 shadows to be exact, but the 4th one is optional, of course. But all it took was 3 shadows to give you a really pretty, elegant eyeshadow look. So I'm gonna do this eye off camera, add me some lashes. I don't need to do anything else with my face, but I'll come right back. So give me just a second to the end of the video, end of the tutorial. I really hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was easy to understand. I feel like I didn't go in too deep a detail into the brushes that I use. If you have questions about the brushes, please just leave all the comments down below. If you have any questions about the shadows, leave any questions, comments down below in the comment section, and I'll be glad to respond and answer them. But anyway, I really hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial. It was fun. I really love how this turned out. I think it's beautiful. easy to do, and it can go with anything, okay? So if you will, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. I know I mentioned that in the beginning, I know, but just go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Stay tuned for part 3. We will be doing, this will be the last part of the series. We'll be focusing on highlight and contouring, something that has taken me a while to get down, but I think I've gotten it down to the point where I can teach it to others. So stay tuned for part 3, which will be uploading next week. I appreciate y'all looking at all my videos. I appreciate all the support. Just continue to subscribe and just continue to look out for the content that is coming. I appreciate y'all. Go check me out on my other social media. That is my Instagram and my TikTok. I also post videos on those platforms as well. Thank y'all again for watching the tutorial, and I'll see y'all in part 3 next week.